Welcome to the Home Team, the show where no matter who you root for, here you are a part of the Home Team. I'm your host, Wyatt Bagnall, and today we are previewing the NFL's Week 12 slate. And before we jump in, hit like, hit subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And without any further ado, let's jump in. So, Week 12, we're starting to get to the point in the season where every game becomes crucial. Playoff spots are now on the line for real. And as such, even games that would normally be, shall I say, not so interesting, could potentially have more value. And if you're not vying for playoff spots, then these games have a lot of impact on the draft. So all these games have a way of becoming important. So there's always a silver lining there. Starting off, the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. Now, this is an important game in the NFC North, more so for the Vikings. It feels like the division and probably making the playoffs is a little further away for the Chicago Bears. But I think that getting some positive momentum coming out of the season is big for the Bears. Just for the confidence of that team, for the confidence of Caleb Williams. I don't believe they should be bringing back their coaching staff, but I believe there's a chance that they do if they have a good end of the year, which that might be the only negative. But I think that in a game against a division opponent, I think that the Bears are going to give it their all. I want Minnesota to win this game, but I also think Minnesota's going to win this game, but I hope Chicago makes it close. And I hope this is a game where Caleb Williams plays well, but the Bears still lose. Because I just think that for the Bears to get where they need to go, they need to have an offseason where they decide to reset and bring in a coach that's more suited to oversee the development of Caleb Williams. Detroit at Indianapolis. I mean, okay, I'll get this one out of the way right now. I want and think that the Lions are going to win this game. But I do acknowledge that I think Indianapolis maybe won't get blown out the same way that a bunch of these other teams have. I think a big part of that is ball control. I think that the Colts want to play more of a ball control style of offense. They want to run the ball. They want to shoot clock. And it gives the Lions offense less chances to gash them. If they're able to do that, it could be a close game where I think they still lose. If the Lions defense shows up and really stops the run, I think Detroit could potentially run away with this one as well. However, there are always games every year where people stumble, and Indianapolis is good enough to be live for one of those games for the Detroit Lions. New England Patriots at the Miami Dolphins. All the New England games are tough for me this year because they are my second favorite team. So I kind of want them to win this game because I'm loving how Drake May is playing, but I also want them to still have a draft pick high enough to either get a great offensive lineman or a great receiver. I think Miami's going to win because Miami's been able to hit points into the high 20s pretty much every week since Tua's returned. And I don't know if, despite Drake May playing really well, I don't know if New England is able to consistently hit that mark. They could win this game for sure. It's in Miami. The weather's going to be nice. But I think Miami's offense is just a little bit too equipped to score. And the Patriots' offense, unless Drake May, like every big pass he throws is going to be caught, I think it's going to be tough. So I think that Miami wins this game, but I think it's closer than people think. Tampa Bay at the New York Giants. The Tommy DeVito-led New York Giants. Daniel Jones now released. All in 1 week. We go from bench to third string to released. What a week for Daniel Jones. I think Tampa Bay is going to win this game, and I hope they win this game because I think Tampa Bay is an interesting playoff team. Should they be able to reach that point, I think that they're very, very live. I mean, frankly, they're still live to win the NFC South, but Atlanta having both the double headers with them, they would have to outpace the Falcons by one whole game. Otherwise, Atlanta has the edge. So I hope Tampa Bay wins, and I think they will. I think the Giants have conceded that this is not their year, and I think they want to be bad. And good news for them, they are. So I'll take the Buccaneers in New York, and I think that the Giants are ready to hit the reset button. And if you're a Giants fan, now we start to look at the offseason. We start to look at the quarterbacks. We start to look at Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, guys like that. And, we'll see. I think that if you're the Giants, I think they're a team that's going to try to get as high as they can. Dallas Cowboys at Washington Commanders. Boy, oh boy. Had the Dallas Cowboys lived up to expectations this year, this would have been a hell of a game right now. but they haven't. So I am going to take Washington, and I hope Washington wins as well. There's just not much that Dallas can do. They can't score very well. Washington's defense is not elite, but they've improved throughout the year, and they've become like serviceable. They're not a bad defense anymore. Basically, if you're playing against the Dallas Cowboys, it's a very simple formula. We are bracketing CeeDee Lamb, and somebody else, anybody else, show up and beat us, and you got to do it with Cooper Rush back there. If I'm the Cowboys, frankly, at this point, the season's over. Okay, you're not going to be able to string together enough games to catch up. Certainly, given that even when you were healthy, you weren't playing well. Dak's out for the year. I think that if I was Dallas, I would put Trey Lance in and just figure out exactly what I have. At this point, you're not playing for this year. You're playing to plan for next year. So evaluate all your pieces. Washington, you are playing for this year, obviously. Jaden Daniels is playing very well. He's become a little more human over the last couple of weeks. That could be any number of things. Attrition. There's also just that rookie wall thing where the NFL season is longer than these college seasons, and it's a tougher version of the sport. So I don't think he's played bad, but certainly that last game against Philadelphia was not what they would have hoped for. And I think that this is a perfect bounce back game for Washington. Kansas City at Carolina. Gee, I wonder who's going to win this one. Not much to say here. Carolina's really, really bad, and Kansas City is very good. And actually, here's what I will say. I hope Carolina wins. I would love to see Carolina win. If Carolina could come in and win this game, I will laugh my ass off. But it's not going to happen. Let's be realistic. Unless you're telling me that this is the game where Patrick Mahomes just gets injured in like the first quarter. Unless this is the game, I don't think that's happening. And even if that happens, I think Kansas City still beats them. So I think the Chiefs win. I think that it might be closer than it should be given the records of the teams. But Kansas City tends to keep everyone close because their offense isn't that great. But Carolina's defense is literally the worst in football. So I'll take Kansas City, and by a pretty healthy margin. Tennessee at Houston. Ooh, can this game be sneaky good? Let's hope so. Tennessee's defense has played tough all year, and I think that Houston's offense has underperformed a bit this year. So I think that it's definitely possible that this is closer. But Houston's defense against Tennessee's offense, I don't see much of a path for success for the Titans' offense. I think that Tennessee, they play hard, but they just don't have it. Whatever it is, they don't have it. On a positive note, Will Levis has been playing better after the first couple of weeks of the season where he just had like these disaster plays mixed in there. He's sort of mellowed out a bit, shall we say, on taking these huge risks. And he's actually played decent ball. If they were to finish out the year with a couple of wins and in a weaker quarterback class, I wouldn't be surprised if Will Levis is the Titans quarterback next year. I think this all depends on how the season finishes out for Tennessee. I think Houston, even though I think that they're underperforming a bit, even though their record's still nice and shiny, I think that Houston's underperforming a bit, and I think Tennessee's going to make this game close. I'm going to take the Texans, but I wouldn't mind. I hope Tennessee wins this game, but I think Houston's going to win this game. Like, I would just like to see the Titans go out there and get a few wins because I think that their defense has played hard enough to deserve it. And I think that Will Levis has played well enough that at least give him like one win against a good team and give the Titans something to think about. So I'll go with I hope Tennessee wins, but I think Houston's going to win. Denver at Las Vegas. The Denver Broncos alive to go for a playoff spot. I think this is one of those games where if they intend to make the playoffs, this is a game they should win. I hope Denver wins. I think Denver will win because I think pretty lowly of the Raiders. I think that if there was any draft pick, I actually might make a mock draft before the season ends, just for the fun of it. But I'll just spoil it now. I think the Raiders are the team that's really targeting Shedeur Sanders, and I don't think the Raiders really want to win too many of these games, even though I think that that team's still going to try. I'm going to take Denver to go in there and win this game. I think they're going to smother the Las Vegas offense, and Bo Nix has gotten better every week. And the Raiders' defense is bad. So I'm going to take the Broncos to go into Vegas and win. And I think that they're going to win by at least a touchdown to 10 points. San Francisco at Green Bay. Man, so my 49ers, my beloved 49ers, are not having the year that we would have hoped. And the injury luck just continues to screw with us. As in this game, we will not have Nick Bosa and we will not have Brock Purdy. I have sort of come to terms with the fact that this is just not our year. Every time we start to get it going, we get hit with a new injury. You know, we let a game slip away. It's just, there's these weird stats where it's like, let me see if I can actually find them. Like, there's these weird stats where it's like, this team plays really, really well, like defensively. Like, I have sort of much maligned this defense. I'm not sure I can find it. Yeah, I don't see it. But it's a stat where it's like, in the first 3 quarters of the game, we're like top 10 and everything. And then in the fourth quarter, we drop down to like 27th. And that is just absolutely inexcusable. And listen, last week, Nick Bosa being hurt was a huge part of it. Seattle's offense hadn't done anything the whole day with Nick Bosa in the game. And then as soon as he goes out, their next 2 drives are touchdowns, including the game-winning drive. So that is there a correlation? Yes. But there also is this factor of, for some reason, the way they call this defense in the fourth quarter is not working, and it hasn't changed. And it's a real problem, and it's really frustrating. So I think that there's a good chance that defensively we'll be able to do a pretty good job against the Packers for 3 quarters. And then that fourth quarter, I just don't know. But offensively is where we're going to be in trouble today, where Brock Purdy's not going to play. Ayuk's obviously out for the year. Kittle's playing on potentially a still wounded hamstring, but he just is going to sort of insist on playing from what I've gathered. McCaffrey is still working his way into form, and we're at a point where we can't really have that for too much longer. This is the type of game where the run game is going to have to dominate. And defensively, it's like, I don't think that we're going to generate much pressure without Nick Bosa. Do I hope we win? Yes. Do I think we're going to win? No. We're down 2 of our most crucial players, and in Green Bay, I just don't think it's going to happen for us. And which means at this point, as far as the year goes, I am firmly looking towards the offseason. Unless you're going to tell me that Brock Purdy and Nick Bosa are back next week and we win out, which I don't find is very likely given that we're going to Buffalo next week. And we have the Lions looming still. I just don't think it's our year. So I'm going to start to look a little bit more towards the offseason for us and look towards the reload. We're not at a point where we need to rebuild, but we need a bit of a youth infusion. And I think that this is going to be the offseason that it happens. As for Green Bay, Jordan Love is quietly having a pretty up and down year. Leads the league in interceptions, and he's missed multiple games. So he puts the ball in danger. I think if we're the San Francisco defense, your shot to win this game is to pick him off and to force the turnovers. And for Green Bay, I think the coaching point this week is San Francisco's down their guys. We cannot be the team that makes the mistakes. Like, we have to make them extend and get outside of themselves. We need to keep the ball safe and play the way we want to play. And just through the course of the game, we'll be able to make the plays to win. The only way that Green Bay, in my opinion, loses this game is if they decide to self-destruct. If he throws up these 50-50 balls and San Francisco comes down with a few, that's where Green Bay loses this game. So this is a game that for me is more about the Packers in reality. I obviously am going to talk more about the 49ers because that's my team and I have a lot to say about them. But as for the Packers, don't be the team that makes the mistakes, and you should win this game. If you lose this game, I would think that it's because something went catastrophically wrong for you. Or if it's not, and San Francisco manages to just outplay you without those 2 guys, well, then that's a bigger conversation about how Green Bay is lacking something. But I feel pretty comfortable that Green Bay is going to win this game. And on to the offseason for me and my beloved 49ers. Arizona at Seattle. I want Arizona to win this game, and God damn it, I'm going to take Arizona to win this game. I don't like the Seahawks. I don't really love the Cardinals, but I don't have like a burning hatred for them. I don't like the Seahawks. I don't really like anything about them. I don't like their players. I don't like their fans. Honestly, I respect their fans. Their fans show up and they're loud. But just rivalry-wise, I like Seahawks fans less than I like other fans. So I feel we dropped the game to them last week. I don't think they're a particularly impressive team. I think that they're really inconsistent on their best days. And I think Arizona has all the ability to go in there and beat them. So I'm going to take Arizona to go into Seattle and beat the Seahawks. Philadelphia at the Rams. God. I hope the Rams win, and I'll take the Rams. This is a trend where I'd pick against the Eagles. I don't like the Eagles. The Eagles fans are a group of fans I legitimately don't like. And I don't like the Eagles on the whole. I respect for the Eagles. Well, I have respect for Howie Roseman. I think he builds a really good team. And I find the way that he approaches the offseason and that process to be frustratingly efficient and smart. And I think that he does a consistently good job of getting the Eagles ready to go out there and at least field a good team. And it's on everybody else to do it. But I think Sean McVay is so much better than Nick Sirianni. I think the Eagles' pass defense has been good, but they also haven't faced a whole lot of real challenges. I don't think that they're a bad pass defense anymore, but I don't think that they're a shutdown unit. And I think that the Rams have the capability of exploiting that. So I'm going to take the Rams because I just want to. I want to. They're at home. It's a primetime game. And, yeah, I don't usually root for the Rams that often, but I will this week. Baltimore at the Chargers. The Horrible. I hope the Chargers win. I'm rooting for the Chargers on this one. I think that Baltimore might be just a little bit ahead of them, but I think that honestly these teams have a chance to play a very similar style of game, and I think that Jim and the Chargers are more disciplined than the Ravens are. I think the Ravens are more talented, but are much more prone to just self-destruction, where they drop passes, they've done penalties. But I think coming off a loss, they would really like to win this game. Granted, coming off a loss, they've choked to the Raiders before. I hope the Chargers win this game. I think Baltimore's just a year ahead of them in development. I think if the Chargers had more receivers, I would tell you I'd take the Chargers. I think Jim's the better coach. I think that Herbert is on the same type of level as Lamar, where you're like, Lamar obviously offers a different type of threat. But I wouldn't be like disheartened to be going against Lamar Jackson if I have Justin Herbert. You know, I think he's a better passer than Lamar. He's obviously not as good of a runner. Lamar is much more dynamic in that aspect, but I think that the Chargers and the Ravens want to play a similar style of game. And when you want to play a similar style of game, sometimes that means that a team that's a little bit lesser than you talent-wise is still going to be able to get you because you play into how they want to beat you. And I think that that's really what it's going to come down to. This is going to be about the Chargers defense and the Ravens offense, in my opinion. The Chargers offense and the Ravens defense, I think that the Chargers offense will have a decent amount of success. And then as for the Ravens, hey, if you were the Chargers, you are living on that Steelers tape. And you should be for the last few years. Because whatever it is that they're doing, they do something that just bothers him. And I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I think a lot of it is those defensive ends, or in the case of the Steelers and the Chargers, their outside linebackers, they set wide, they try to crash in on him, but they rush very disciplined where he doesn't really have a place to step up and go. And if he tries to peel out, they have the leverage to get him. And if you step up, you got to hope those defensive tackles are there to do it, which is where the Steelers are strong. But I think that you got to be able to man up the Ravens receivers. I've always been of this philosophy with the Ravens. The Ravens don't field receivers that are good enough where you shouldn't be able to man them up. You got to be able to put men, like man for man, on the Ravens receivers, and everything else is about Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. And I think if you do that, the Ravens offense can struggle, and I think the Chargers have the personnel in the secondary to be able to deploy that. So we'll see. But I think Baltimore's going to win slightly, but I'm hoping the Chargers get it done. That is Week 12. So I hope everybody has a good Week 12. I hope your teams come out happy and healthy. And, yeah, everybody have a great day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the video. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Peace.